That couple is still in shock, but they said this was a wild shootout that happened right here. Breaking news, another child has been shot here in Atlanta. Now, let me step out of the way to show you what's going on here. Well, here at the state capitol, for the most part, at least from what I observed, the lawmakers seem to be listening. On normal days, we see a lot of lobbyists here. They wear their badges here, but today, we're seeing a lot of regular people. You might want to call them protesters, some people might call them activists, some are just regular people. Grab them by the midterms. That's the slogan that Georgia's win list adopted, and then showed this diverse group of female faces to try to attract a diverse group of Democratic women to run for political office. In a traditionally red state like Alabama, I think the front cover of the Anniston Star says it best. Blue blazes. Breaking news this afternoon. We were waiting for details, and we just learned that the president of KSU, Sam Owens, is indeed going to step down effective February 15th. And right now, Stockbridge is being discussed in the Senate. That's a big one. Apparently, there was a police officer in an unmarked vehicle. He spotted a stolen vehicle, and then on the 500 block of Cleveland Avenue, behind those trees right there, in the rear of an apartment complex there, the suspect in that vehicle, who had a female companion with him, got out of his vehicle and then started firing at the officer. We're back at the barbecue joint. Now, yesterday, most of the people that we spoke with here at Betty's Barbecue said that they were either Roy Moore supporters or they just didn't want to tell us. Good evening, Sharon. Well, I'm pretty familiar with Alabama and Alabama politics because I lived and worked here in the state for more than 2 years, right around the millennium. And you come to places like this, an institution for 38 years, to find out how people are really thinking and how they plan to vote. Robert Patrick is all about the veggies. His pal since first grade, Buddy McLeod, is all about the fried okra, green beans, and chicken at Betty's Barbecue in Anniston. Today's talk is all about the Senate race.
We've heard everything from D.C. to New York to L.A., and we don't listen to people like that. We'll make our own decisions here.
Patrick is voting for the Republican in the race, Roy Moore, not the Democrat, Doug Jones. He thinks it'll be a battle between the rural areas and the cities.
They've got Doug Jones up the gazebo, and people in the rural areas, that's not who we are.
Did you have any reservations about who to vote for today? Why or why not?
I didn't have any reservations. I voted for Roy Moore.
The accusations that Moore sought out teenagers when he was in his 30s is not a factor in this race for these buddies. Regarding the sexual abuse allegations, do you have a daughter?
I have 3 daughters.
And this doesn't make them good?
What? It doesn't. What's been proven?
Well, that was a long time ago, and there was different values back then than there are now.
So even though one says War Eagle and the other screams Roll Tide when it comes to college football, it seems these friends will bond over home cooking and support Republican Roy Moore. And I have to tell you that we went down the line hours earlier asking people how they were going to vote, and we could not find a Doug Jones supporter. But then again, we're in a small town. We're not in Birmingham or Mountain Brook. Now, I have to tell you also that Republican political analyst David Johnson said that Roy Moore traditionally has been unpopular with the business community. Reporting live from Anniston, Alabama, Giovanna Drpic, CBS 46 News. Well, Tracy, I was able to get my hands on these site plans and the video you're about to see. It's all for one of the locations that Georgia is hoping is going to convince Amazon that it should set up shop in our region. CBS 46 News is showing you exclusive fly-through video of how Georgia hopes to seal the deal with Amazon to get its second headquarters site. This is phase 1 of the Alpharetta option. It's called 360 Tech Village, which shows the proposed Amazon campus. This is the first phase, which I'm told could be built immediately. It shows everything from proposed office space, retail, food halls, even an interactive park with a mile of trail. Alpharetta asked Fuquay Development, which partnered with 2 other developers, to come up with a plan that would meet Amazon's requirements. This proposal is on both sides of Haynesbridge Road.
At one time there were 70 sites that had been at issue within the state of Georgia.
Here on this site plan, the white structures represent office space that Amazon could build. The pink buildings represent retail, restaurants, and hotels that could service the Amazon campus. And there are already a few structures on here that could be expanded. Here are the stats: 100+ acres, 8 million square feet of office space, 2 hotels with space for more, nearly 600 residential units, and lots of space for a food hall, a dozen other restaurants, plus a specialty grocery market. Here are the pros and cons, according to Georgia State Associate Professor of Economics, Dr. Bruce Seaman.
Already a successful high-tech location, desirable place to be living. It does have huge congestion problems. I think it has huge transportation problems.
Dr. Seaman thinks this option will face stiff competition from proposed locations in Midtown and downtown Atlanta.
I've seen site plans for the Gulch, which was more general and not solely related to the Amazon headquarters site, and has a lot of mixed-use plans.
But
the city itself is on a roll, frankly. The whole metro area is on a roll, attracting labor force.
so he thinks Georgia's entire package will likely make a lasting impression on Amazon. And Fuquay Development says the advantage this site has compared to some of the others around the area and the country is that no demolition work is necessary, and the zoning and financing are already in place. So theoretically, construction could start almost immediately. Giovanna, Drpic, CBS 46 News. Well, depending on where you stand on the issue, it can either mean certainty that the DACA program will indeed end and the Dreamers can expect to eventually be deported, or it can just mean more confusion with all the back and forth with the court rulings and Trump administration tweets. Marisol Estrada has dreams just like you, but she has to plan her future differently than you probably do.
You have to question your every move, you know, in your life, because we live with an expiration date in the back of our minds, and that expiration date is when our DACA ends.
The DACA recipient, whose mother brought her to the U.S. from Mexico illegally when Marisol was just 5 years old, can now stay till 2019. I ask her, ¿Vives con miedo cada día o no? Do you live in fear every day or not? She answers,
Con miedo para mi familia.
Fear for my family, yes. Fear for myself? Not so much. But Sunday, after wishing people a happy Easter, President Trump tweeted, quote, "No more DACA deal," putting Marisol's dream of going to law school in limbo.
I don't want to plan to be in law school and then to lose my work permit and not be able to practice law.
For people who say, well, it was a temporary work permit anyway, so you should have never had the expectation to be able to stay here in this country.
People tell me all the time that I should get in line, but the reality is there's no line to get behind of. The only line that existed was DACA, and that's why I have DACA.
For Marisol, who works as a legal assistant and who is the first in her family to graduate high school and college, DACA gave her something else that you just can't put a price tag on: peace of mind. And you may be wondering what happened to that March 5th deadline that recently passed for the program. Well, according to Marisol Estrada, despite that, she says that some Dreamers may be eligible for an extra 2 years renewal. Of course, that costs money in terms of legal fees and filing fees. Reporting live from Atlanta, Giovanna Drpic, CBS 46 News. Well, the barber that we spoke with said he and many other African Americans realize that they basically have to look out for themselves, and voting is the way to do it.
We're realizing as people that, you know what, we got to look out for ourselves. So we need to get up off the couch and go vote. And my one vote might just count.
It turns out, as a voting bloc, African-American voters like this barber, Carlos Middleton, showed up in big numbers in the hotly contested race. They felt this contest between Republican Roy Moore and Democrat Doug Jones was just that important.
I hear it all the time. Man, you know, oh, he one of them. That's what black people say. That's what we say. Oh, no, Moore, he one of them.
One of them meaning what?
One of those, the Southerners, one of those, want to keep the blacks in their position, the good old boys.
And Jones?
Jones saying, I'm not one of those. That's why he's saying, I mess with y'all. I listen to y'all. That's the difference.
Middleton admits he didn't know how it was going to go as the race tightened to a razor-thin margin.
One of these Trump situations was like, you never know what can happen.
Middleton says the awareness is getting through to the new generation.
Black people are tired of just this. People want to see, so we say, you know what, we'll roll up our sleeves, young people, and go vote.
We noticed the sign at his barbershop, Headliners, that one of the kids he mentors made for him.
Believe in yourself and you will be unstoppable.
And despite the power and name recognition of Roy Moore, the reliably red state of Alabama turned blue. And African Americans like Middleton proved their own power to be an unstoppable force in politics. And for you Roy Moore supporters out there, we didn't forget you. We decided to come back to the barbecue joint that we visited yesterday, one day after the election. We'll let you know what the diners had to say. That's Stories at 6. Reporting live from Anniston, Alabama, Giovanna, Drpic, CBS 46 News. Well, first off, let's face it, many of us are addicted to our cell phones, even in the car. It's a hard habit to break. The problem here is the language and figuring out what law enforcement can really enforce and what they can't enforce.
She just loved to help people.
20-year-old Emily Clark wanted to help people by becoming a nurse. That dream never came true.
Our daughter was killed by a distracted driver.
A distracted driver changed our family forever. We'll never be the same.
I love this picture.
I like the one with the girls together.
But Kathy and Craig Clark hope to make things different for others by supporting a distracted driving bill in Georgia.
So what the bill would say is that you cannot hold your phone and you can't support it. You can have it mounted on your dash.
But what if the phone is mounted and I'm dialing?
Then that's fine.
That's allowed?
Mm-hmm.
State Representative John Carson says that would be allowed. He acknowledges the bill is not perfect, but he says it's a start.
The law should address eyes on the road, not hands on the phone.
State Representative Ed Setzler says this bill is not attacking the right problem. He calls it an overreach.
I think Georgians want this bill fixed to make sure we address texting while driving, but not making people a lawbreaker to simply hold their telephone and talk.
He was in a tractor trailer.
But to the Clarks, they won't stop fighting for something to be done.
She was a daddy's girl. She was just fun. You know, we loved to laugh. We would just have a lot of fun together.
Carrying on Emily's legacy is hard.
What's hard is every day without Emily. It's hard doing life when you feel like part of your heart's gone.
But keeping others from a similar heartache keeps them going.
It would be worth every minute we spent to save another family from getting the call that we got.
And the latest information we have is that this hearing is getting a very late start tonight. It's because the Senate ran late. We're told that apparently they're going to be discussing the fees and penalties associated with distracted driving. That's the very latest from the state capitol. Giovanna, Drpic, CBS 46 News.